Hi, I'm Allie. Join me as I show you how to create this crossing colors bracelet. It is nice and simple using some right angle weave and some materials you may already have. If you want to check out the full material list and see if you do need any, go ahead below the video in the description, hit that little show more button, and that will get you links back to the site with everything listed and color options for you. Gather up your materials and let's get started. So to begin our bracelet, we have 6mm pearls, 4mm bicones, along with 15s and 8s of the same color, and then another color of 11 seed beads. I have a 2-strand clasp guarding clasp, and I'm using some green dragon thread in the size 8. The bracelet itself is made up of right angle units and then embellished on the top in a very, very simple right angle pattern. Really what happens to create kind of that angled look is the color of seed beads that we're using and the way that we're pulling our thread and needle. To begin, I put a stop bead on the bottom of my thread of about 5 feet, and I have about 3 inches left after that just to tie on to. I'm going to create my first right hand unit with 4 sides. I'm going to think of an 8, 4, 8 as the left side of my box, 2 15s, a 6, and 2 15s as the top of my box, 8, 4, 8 as the right of my box, 2 15s, 6, 2 15s as the bottom of my box. Now, how do I make a box? With right angle weave, you're going to sew back through the first 3 beads or the 3 sides. Since we have multiple beads in our sides, we're going to go through the right side, which is the 8, 4, 8. We're going to go through the top, which is the 15, 6mm 15. Get that starter thread out of there. We're also going to go down through the right-hand side of the box, which is the 80, 4mm 80. And that's where your thread is going to exit every single time. From here, we're going to repeat. So we're going to do our bottom, 2 15s, a 6mm pearl, 2 15s. We're going to do a new right side of the next box that we're building. So it's going to be a 680, 4mm 80. And then we need another top. So that's once again going to be 2 15s, a pearl, and 2 15s. From here, we're going to go back into the right side of the previous box, meaning our thread is currently coming out of the bottom of that right side. We're going into the top, which is going to round this out to create our next raw or right angle weave. That's the acronym for it, unit. So see how we created another unit there? We need to get over to the right-hand side. So we're going to sew through. This one is going to be the bottom since we're going and coming out the bottom beads. And then after the bottom, we're going to be going through the right-hand side and out. 80, 4mm, 80. And there we have it. From here, we're going to continue on. 2 15s, a 6mm pearl, 2 15s, that's our top. New right-hand side, 80, 4, 80, and that's our right. New bottom, 15, 6, 15. From here, we're going to go into the opposite side of the right side of the box before. So we're going into threads coming out the top. We sew into the bottom of that 8, 4, 8 combo. Thread and needle comes out the top, and we're going to work our way over towards the right-hand side of that box, going through the 2 15 pearl, 2 15 combo. And then once again, always out through the right-hand side. So take your needle and thread down the 8, 4, 8 combo, and here we are at the bottom. From here, we're just on repeat, going through and creating that center row of right angle weave. See the crystal's now kind of on an angle, but that is how we're getting our first initial row. So go ahead and continue on building your right angle weave units. Once you're finished with your right angle unit, you're going to want to put on your clasp. If you're doing a single clasp, I would recommend bringing it into a V with some seed beads. I'm doing a double clasp here, that pretty clasp guarding clasp that kind of gives a little bit of that Celtic Irish vibe. And I've gone through one side of my clasp here after adding a 2 15s like I was doing in my pattern and then 1 80 seed bead. I'm going to come back down through the 80 seed bead and back down through the 2 15s and go straight across to the opposite side and do the same thing on the opposite side. Now, when I said straight across to the other side, I'm going through the 8, 4, 8, 2 15s, another 8, up through the other side of the clasp, down through the clasp, give a nice tight pull. And now because I'm not coming back down through the project, I want to reinforce at this point. I'm going back down through that 848, giving a nice tight pull, back up through those seed beads, making sure that I go around the clasp as well. And one of the challenges that you can do during this project, if you want to, is that you can actually do this as a multi-strand bracelet or do more rows because it's just right angle weave. So it's pretty easy to do. So I'm going to come out through my 8 there. That didn't want me to go through. Up through the clasp, down through the 8, and through the seed beads. Once again, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side and then come through the 848 combo and get ready to add my diagonal lines in between my pearls. Once you're done reinforcing your clasp, we are going to go through and create that kind of zigzag effect. To create it, we're coming out of the rightmost side seed beads, the 848, just like where we were when we attached the clasp. And I've added to my thread and needle here 2 15s, 3 of my color that kind of matches my crystal of my 11s, and then 2 more 15s. I'm going to take my needle and thread then and go on a diagonal going from the bottom towards the top through the next interior or the next vertical side of my right angle weave. So through the 848, taking it and making sure that it stays to the top there. It is going to sit right on top of the project just like that. Now we're going to do the same thing over and over the whole way down that interior line, doing 2 15s, 3 11s, 2 15s, coming out the top of the right hand side of the unit before, going into the bottom of the left hand side of the unit through the 848, making sure that our thread doesn't twist to the back. We are keeping that towards the front. Now you'll already see a little bit of a shift and a diagonal starting to happen. Why is that happening? It's happening because we're pulling our needle on that angle. We're not evening it out by Xing and going the opposite way. We're just going in one direction. You're going to continue that the whole way down your project. And as you go further down the project, you're going to notice that it's more and more prevalent and more viewable that it sits just on this little bit of an angle. So out the top of the right-hand side of the box into the bottom of the left-hand side of the box after adding in your grouping of 2 15s, 3 11s, 2 15s. Continue that down the whole middle of the bracelet until you get to the end. Once you're done the bracelet here, you're just going to have to put on the ends. And you can see what I was saying about it kind of looking like it's on the angle. No longer when you look at it does the 4mm bead sit straight in conjunction with the pearl. When we're coming out the end here, I'm coming out the end right near that stop bead, so I'm just going to kind of pull that off to the side. My thread and needle are coming out of the 80 seed bead. I'm going to grab 1 and 2 15s, just like we did on the opposite side, and 80. I have my clasp still together. That way I'm making sure that I put the correct strand through the correct loop, that it's going to fit nice and together and that there's not any flipping since there is a front and a back. From here, we're going back through the 8 15 8 combo and then right along the line through the 80 4mm 80, 15, 2 15s and 8 go on, up through the opposite side of the clasp, back through the 8 and the 15s, working my way over to the opposite side again. And eventually I'll go through this again one more time. And then my last step will be to burn off that extra thread edge and tie the 2 thread ends together. So that will be the ultimate, is that I'm getting rid of that starter thread, taking off that stop bead. So here I am going through, making sure I'm sewing through the loop in addition to those seed beads, bringing them back through. And see how it's a little bit of space there? I'm going to want to make sure to pull that thread nice and tight. Move that stop bead out of the way a little bit. Go back through here and reinforce one more time. Going back through the clasp, all the seed beads, getting that second strand or a third strand, even if you want to, of thread. 3 is great if you can, but it starts to get a little bit crowded on that 15 with this size thread and needle. Once you're done, grab that starter thread, again, taking that stop bead off, tie the 2 thread ends together, and I'm using green thread and green beads. It has a little bit of a holiday look, but also can be worn year round. I find that I like to make jewelry either red or green rather than mixing because that makes it really seasonal. You can always stack one green bracelet this style and one red bracelet on top of one another. So I just used all green in this one. Once I'm done there, I'm going to go back into the design since I have room on my thread and my needle. And I'm going back in and I'm going to separate out my thread here and have it exit near some beads that are green. So I'm going to exit my thread and needle near this green pearl here. Grab my thread zap or my thread burner, burn this one down close to the project, burn it down flat against the project then, and the same thing on this side, burning it down close towards the project and then close along the project itself to finish up the bracelet. Thanks again so much for watching, and remember, if you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. If you need any materials or want to make this in more colors, go ahead and look below the video. In the description, we have a little show more button there. You're going to click that and it can take you back to our website with the link there, and you can gather up any supplies that you need. Remember to comment if you made any changes or alterations, since that really helps all the other people watching the video and to build this amazing community. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.